Hello, friends. Nick Borrman here of WagerTalk.com with a little preview for this week's PGA Championship. Golf's normally second major of the year happens to be the fourth major of this season due to the obviously messed up schedule from last year. So here to talk a little golf today with me, I have Andy Lang, also of WagerTalk.com, to join in on the festivities. Andy, welcome to the show, buddy. How are you?
I think I'm doing better than a lot of these guys are going to be doing, trying to tame this beast of a course that they have this week. Very excited to go over it. Can't wait for this tournament. It is going to be a monster.
Yeah. I was speaking of the course real quick. I was just kind of reading up on it before the show, reminding myself of what the hell is Kiawah, right? So PGA Championship hosted here 2012. Rory was 23 years old when he won that by 8 shots. Okay, it's a crazy number to throw out there. At the time, it had played at over 7,600 yards. They added another 200 yards. It's now playing at 7,876 yards, the longest track in major championship history. So let that sink in for a little bit. I know the guys are fighting distance these days, but this is going to be the longest major in history. So, how's that going to play out this week? Of course, the wind right on the ocean is always a factor as well. So this is going to be a fun 4 days. I think par is going to be a very, very good score. I'm sure the winner is still going to be under par, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of guys shooting very low this week, nor will the low score probably be in the double digits. I don't think we'll be seeing that this week. Anything else you've seen on the course, or anything else to add on the course for the listeners looking this week, Andy?
Well, just the yardage is long enough, but the holes, some of them are going to be the wind is going to be at the players' backs, which is going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got a lot of holes where it's right in their face. And we've seen some of the interviews already this week from players saying, if the wind's in our face off this, I can't hit the ball past this bunker, which I thought I was going to be able to. Or I heard Tony Finau talking about he couldn't clear the bunker, and he ended up on a par 4 having to go like driver 4-iron out of a bunker just to try and get it close to a green. So not only is the yardage a daunting task, but then you add in the wind that is just going to be right in their face. The back 9, it appears, is probably going to be the toughest 9-hole stretch they play this season. So if you want to see the best golfers in the world get humbled, this is your tournament.
Sounds like a U.S. Open, but that's fun. We always like when these guys struggle a little bit. That 25 or whatever the hell under par they were last week. I guess we're not going to be seeing that, or a cut at minus. What was the cut last week? -6. Maybe that's the winning score this week. All right. Well, let's get into it. A little bit before we talk about the outrights this week. I do want to mention a promo for both Andy and myself. You can use promo code PGA50 to get this week's tournament pack for both Andy or myself, normally priced at $39. Take 50% off this week and get our complete tournament pack. We'll have both of us have player previews profiles loaded for what I have about 10 players. How many are in your player profile, Andy?
About that, DFS lineups, bets, props, everything is included.
Perfect. And of course, the bread and butter, the head-to-head matchups. And we'll be doing action for all 4 days. So make sure to head over to WagerTalk.com to either one of our pages and check out that pack for this week. Okay, outright market. Let's start there. Always fun to try to figure out who the hell is going to win this event, but obviously very difficult to do so. So major championship, you got to start near the top of the board and look at who's going to be on the list, right? So who's favorite? Rory McIlroy, defending PGA Championship at Kiawah, and winner last time out at Wells Fargo, which broke that streak since November of 2019, since he finally won. So obviously a lot of eyes going to be on him, and clearly the bookies are marking him as the favorite because they're expecting a lot of money coming out on him. But then you got the normal list, right? We got Rahm 14-1, Justin Thomas 14-1, Spieth right there 15-1, then DeChambeau and Schauffele next on the list 16 or 17-1, DJ down at 18-1, which he was the hands down favorite just 3 months ago in everything he entered, so he's fallen back a little bit. Hovland's probably the best young stud. I mean, you can argue Morikawa, but Hovland's been playing more consistently for sure. Next, 20-1, and then you got Berger, Morikawa, 30-1, and it drops off pretty quick from there. And you can get some good names at some higher numbers after that, which we'll get to and talk to, of course. So, Andy, I'll go to you first on the outright market. What's one of your guys you're looking at this week?
Well, the Rory McIlroy price is so ridiculous. 11.5 to 1. You can't take an outright winner at that price at a major. Just don't. The tournament that he won here at this course was 9 years ago. Different course, different player. So I would run away from that one. I think the winner, honestly, is going to be outside of the 25 to 1 range. The only favorite I do like is Spieth. I just can't get away from how good his short game is. I think we just have to accept he's going to hit long putts and chips for his entire career. He's been doing it long enough to just say, it's just going to happen. These wide fairways are going to help him because his problem recently has been his driving. His driving's got better. These wide fairways are going to help. But I think there's just going to be a lot more value outside of that 25 to 1 market with guys like Patrick Reed, maybe even a Cameron Smith. I think you could throw Will Zalatoris in there, Berger, Finau. I'm not a big fan of laying the wood with some of these heavy favorites this week.
Yeah, agreed. Anyone in particular that you like that maybe falls outside of this? You mentioned outside of 25 to 1. I know you're looking at somebody in that 30-40 range. Who's one of your guys? Any previews you have for us?
Yeah, I like Patrick Reed. I see him at 35 to 1 right now. 13th, 10th, 8th, 13th, and 10th. Those are his last 5 finishes at majors. This is a guy that just shows up. He's a legendary Ryder Cup player. And when the spotlight is on, this guy thrives. He loves adversity. It just fuels him. He's got some inconsistent finishes at random tournaments like the American Express, the Arnold Palmer, and the Valspar. But when it comes down to the majors, he's just going to be there. He's a great play in DFS. He's definitely going to be in my seasonal fantasy lineup. I think he's worth a look at a top 20 prop. And I just love the way he has turned his career into, I'm just going to be there in the majors. I don't really care about all the other tournaments. I'm going to be there in the majors. It reminds me of Brooks Koepka a little bit, but I like Captain America. I mean, those 5 unbelievable finishes in the last 5 majors that he's at says a lot to me.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Reed to me is a guy. I think he does well because his short game is very good. He's always one of the better putters, and his short game is underrated but very good. And I think if you look at these majors, you got to get guys that are going to have a strong short game. The guys that can avoid big numbers, they can get up and down for par. They're not guys that are going to go out there and all of a sudden in these other tournaments shoot 63, 64 every single day. Could they? Sure. But they're the guys that are separate from the pack because when the tough going gets tough, as they say, they can hang tight and they can make par when par is a good score. So I like Reed. I agree with you. He's a great play for this week. I'll start with one of the favorites. If you're going to bet one of the favorites, to me, I say favorites, you're looking under to 21. I would look at Rahm this week. He hasn't had his major win yet, but he's been a machine this year on tour. He's got 9 top 10s, which is number 1 on tour this year. He has, in this PGA Championship history, which is short, he has just 4 starts, 3 cuts made, and he did finish tied for 14th in 2018. Why I like him this week is this is a Pete Dye course, and he's got some good results at some Pete Dye courses. He won the PGA West back in 2018. It was a career builder challenge at the time it was called. He won at the Zurich Classic in the last time around, not in 2021, but in 2019, and that's at TPC Louisiana, another Pete Dye track. He was a runner-up at Austin Country Club, which is where they play the match play. He did that in 2017, and of course, he just finished tied for 9th this year at Sawgrass. And if you know anything about Dye designs, they tend to feature a lot of very similar characteristics. Sloped greens, very tricky around the greens, and if he can navigate and he likes the look of a lot of Dye courses, I think he's going to be up there again this week. You look at his numbers. He's up there everywhere. Third shots gained off the tee, 4th tee to green. His weakness, 123rd right now in putting. But driving distance, number 21, 5th greens in regulation, 9th scoring average. So if the guy can just have an average putting week, I think he's going to be right there in the mix on Sunday. And really, he's just been there all along. Will he have the pedigree to break through? I don't know. 14 to 1 isn't a great price to take on anybody on an outright, but if you're going to look at one of the majors, one of the favorites, he would be my guy this week. But I'll talk about a longer shot a little bit later. Anybody else you like kind of up here near the top or in that range you were just at this week, Andy?
Well, I quick follow up on Rahm. Does it worry you that he leads the tour in throwing fits after bad shots? Unfortunately, those don't show up in the stat. It's always been my issue with Rahm. I think it's the one thing that's holding him back. It's my big worry with him because every golfer is going to get into trouble on this course. It's just going to be a frustrating week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you handicap that. I mean, you pointed out all the numbers. All the numbers say he's one of the best on tour, and he is. But man, does that worry you about his mental stability when he's out there?
Of course. It's one of the things that's probably held him back so far in his career now. The one kind of event more recently I looked at is the BMW Championship. Very, very tough. It was last fall, and he got through that tough field, got through really tough scoring conditions. You need a guy that's a ball striker that's going to get around the course and be able to hang tight when it's really tough. But yeah, of course. I mean, if he has a bad front nine on Thursday or a bad second nine on Thursday, one of those first things, it's probably over for him. So I think the key will be to get off to at least a decent start on Thursday. He doesn't have to be on the top of the leaderboard by any means. But yeah, if he has, I think it's early for him. If he has a mistake, a couple of them early, I think it's over. I think he's decent if he makes that mistake a little bit later in the round and he can weather it. But yeah, it's a little worrisome. But again, if I'm going to take one of the favorites, that's the guy I'm kind of looking at this week.
Nice. I actually want to go over a guy I don't like. I want to go over a guy I think people should run away from, and that is Hideki Matsuyama, Masters winner. Obviously, wins the Masters. It was incredible, but he got so fortunate when that rain delay came in and he got to go out and post a real low number on those really, really soft greens. That could have been anybody in that spot. Now, kudos to him because he took advantage. But he comes back and all the media that he gets and all the sponsors and all the attention, it's got to be jarring for someone like that. And they had the huge celebration for him in his home country, and he comes back and a pretty unimpressive 39th last week. And with Hideki, it's always about putting. And he only has that win. That was only one of 3 top 10 finishes for him since the COVID restart. And the other top 10 was at the terrible field at the Houston Open and then at a no-cut tournament. So, I said fade him at the Masters, and I looked kind of like a dummy. But I don't think that his game I don't think his game fits this course at all. I think he got somewhat very fortunate. And his last 3 finishes at PGA Championships, 22nd, 16th, and 35th. Obviously, this is a different course, but no top 10s, and PGA Championships tend to be on longer courses. He's not going to be in any of my lineups, any of my bets. I would look to fade him, and I think his price, even at 40-1 or 35-1, is not in the cards for me on this card.
Yeah, if he didn't win the Masters, we wouldn't be seeing him at this price, that's for sure. I took him, and again, I faded him last week in a head-to-head matchup. Same reasons you just said, and I think it's another good week to probably lay off him. I agree 100%. One other guy I'll throw out there that I think is kind of getting overlooked a little bit just because it's a deep field, but he's been as hot as anybody on tour. And actually, over the last 3 months, Cameron Smith is your PGA Tour leader in strokes gained per round, averaging 2.31 per round, which really is fantastic. And his only weakness during this run has been his driver. But at Kiawah, like you said, they're wider fairways, and he can miss a little bit. It's when you miss big at Kiawah off the tee that you can get into some really goofy positions. So there's a little bit of room for him out here. He's right now 46-1 on DraftKings, and I think he's a very valuable play this week. So I really like him. He's got good history. Again, I like to look at the other Pete Dye courses. I mentioned with Rahm. He was tied for 25th at Whistling Straits in the 2015 PGA Championship. He won at Louisiana just a couple weeks ago with Leishman. Quarterfinalist at the Dell Match Play. Tied for 17th this year at TPC Sawgrass. And, tied for 10th at the Masters. He's been very good over this latest stretch, and I think he's just being a little undervalued this week, just again because it's a deep field. The odds got to fall off at some point. He's 14 cuts made and 15 starts this year with 11 top 25 finishes, including 6 top 10. So very consistent. I think he's a good play. I know he'll be there for all 4 days, but I think he's worth a play. Definitely on the outright market this week. One last player that I think nobody's talking about this week, Andy, I know we talked about this a little bit, is good old John Daly, currently priced at $10.95. You can get John Daly 2 parts iced tea, 2 parts lemonade, 1 part vodka. And I know you and I are going to have a lot of money in on John Daly's this week. Am I right there?
Yeah, absolutely. Greens and regulations looking a little bit suspect. I got to say, Nick, a couple of things to push back on John Daly. One of his main streams of income is that he signs things for $20 outside the Hooters in Augusta the week of the Masters. And the second is the last major he played in, he needed a golf cart, a pack of Marlboro Reds, and an extra large Diet Coke from McDonald's. And the reason I know this is I was there and I watched it with my own 2 eyes. So, yes, as we like to say about John Daly, he puts the double in double bogey.
That's been his diet for 50 plus years. Well, sorry, we digress. That's our attempt at some lame golf humor, but John Daly definitely will have a lot of those over the 4 days. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. We'll talk about head-to-head matchups. Before we do, a quick reminder on the promo code available right now for Andy and myself, PGA 50. Take 50% off either Andy or myself's PGA pack this week. So make sure to head over to WagerTalk.com, check out either one of our pages, and use that promo code. Get our packs for just $19, all 4 days of coverage. Definitely good value. And he's been killing it all year with the head-to-head matchups. I'm on a 14-5 run myself over the last 4 weeks in the matchups. So matchups is where the bread and butter is. Let's transition. Let's talk about those. This is a different way to play a golf tournament, but, we're both going to always tell, anybody that's betting golf is this is where the money is going to be made. It's one guy versus another guy who's going to come out on top. So let's talk about a couple matchups that we like. Andy, I'll start with you. What's a matchup you're looking at this week, and where do you find it? Is it DraftKings? Is it offshore? Go ahead.
This is an offshore. Should be available in most markets. I believe you can find it on a DraftKings or FanDuel, but all offshore markets have this. And it's Mark Leishman over Sergio Garcia. Leishman is a big guy who is fine with playing in the wind. Australian player. The adverse conditions don't really affect him too much. I mean, I don't want to say a robot, but he's fine playing in the wind. He's fine when it rains. And Sergio, he showed a little bit of promise. He had a good finish at the Players, and then at the match play, finished 5th. But I went back and kind of looked over the match play, and he got a lot of help from his opponents. His opponents did not play very good. And Leishman really coming alive, showing signs of life. It wouldn't surprise me if he was in the top 20 or top 15 this week. He missed the cut at the Arnold Palmer and the Players, but then he played really good at the match play, 5th at the Masters, and then he won the Zurich with his partner, and 21st over the weekend at the Byron Nelson. Sergio's just coming off of 3 missed cuts, and this is a course that I only want to bet on guys that are in good form. This is not a course to get it right. If you're coming off of 3 missed cuts, it's pretty hard to imagine that Sergio is going to turn it around on a course this difficult. So give me Leishman, longer off the tee, deals with adversity a lot better and in much, much better form. I'll take Leishman over Garcia.
Yeah, I like that. Leishman was definitely on both of our lists as a fade not too long ago, right? Just a few months ago. I mean, I was fading that guy every single tournament, but golf's one of those games. It's ebb and flow. You can get into a groove and you can ride it for a while and you can fall right out of it pretty quick. And a matchup I like is right on that same wheelhouse of ebb and flow, and that's Patrick Reed over the other Patrick Cantley this week. Cantley, he's just been out of form for really the last 2 months, going back to the Players in March. He has missed the cut in all 4 stroke play events, beginning with the Players, followed by the Masters, RBC Heritage, and then most recently at the Wells Fargo Championship. He was red hot before that. He had 5 straight finishes inside the top 20, including a win at the Zozo, runner-up at American Express, and tied for 3rd at the Pebble. But boy, has he fallen hard. If you look at his season-long numbers, they are respectable, again, because he kind of averages out with some good results and some bad results. But as you just mentioned, it's all about form, again, going into a major championship. And could he put together a good week out of nowhere? Sure, but I can't see putting any money on him in any way this week. And I love Patrick Reed, and what you mentioned before on the outright market, I couldn't agree more. I like him to play very well this week, and I think he's a good price right now. Minus 115 is available on Reed over Cantley. Any other? Let's talk about maybe 2 more head-to-head matchups that you got going on this week. I know you're looking at some of the big names out there, right? Who do you got? I know you're looking at the top of the board.
Yeah. By the way, minus 115 on that play, Reed versus Cantlay. That is just I think you and I had a race to the window of like when they asked like, hey, what picks do you guys want to go over on the shows? Like who could type in Reed over Cantlay fastest? So
very true.
Got those quick fingers.
I think you called me an expletive when I typed it in faster than you did, but we won't go there.
I did. I called you a name. All right. I found a DraftKings specifics, all you DraftKings players out there. I like Spieth over Bryson DeChambeau. And I think the conventional thinking would say Bryson should have the advantage. Number one on tour in driving distance and, in a wide fairways and against the wind. You want the guy that's going to drive the ball 320 yards. Jordan Spieth has just been better than Bryson recently. I mean, Spieth is coming off of 4 straight top 10 finishes. He's 3-0 head-to-head against Bryson in the last 3 tournaments they've played in. And Bryson comes in off of a 55th place finish at last week's tournament, which is, pretty easy. He did not have a good showing at the Masters. And I go back to Jordan Spieth's short game, and we can talk about the wind and we can talk about the length. But like you said, when it comes down to these majors, it's about the putting. Who can get the ball on the green is one thing, but who can avoid the 3 putts? Who can make those really clutch 20-footers? Who can save par with 9-footers? And Spieth has that advantage all day, every day over Bryson. So I think at first glance, knowing this course, you might take the length of Bryson DeChambeau. I'll take the short game and the really good form of Jordan Spieth over Bryson DeChambeau. That can be found on DraftKings.
Don't forget who can hole out a bunker shot on 18 and throw his wedge at his caddy and say, that's tournament, right? That's Jordan Spieth for you. So what a comeback story for him, too. I mean, he had fallen off for quite some time. Finally rounded back into form.
He was fade material. We couldn't put up enough bets against him last year.
We were fading him every single week. We really were. And then, he started getting it together, and you could see that win coming at Texas Open, Valero Texas Open. And, man, he looks good. So I like that play as well. I'm going to throw one out there that's probably nobody's really looking at. It's a couple old timers. It's not a big play for me, but it looks like a little bit of fun. And that's, yes, Phil Mickelson, Andy. I said it. Phil Mickelson plus 120 over Steve Stricker. Now, Stricker's actually had very good results recently on the Champions Tour. And he's just, when you go back to his tour days, he's just such a consistent player. I mean, he doesn't miss, right? He's fairway, he's green, he's fairway, he's green. The reason I'm against him here is purely the length play for me. Phil can still bomb it. Stricker can't. And at 7,800 yards, maybe that gives Phil a little bit of an advantage here. I don't like Phil over 4 days. I got to be honest. But look, what did he do last week or 2 weeks ago at the Wells Fargo? He went out, shot 64 on Thursday, was the first round leader was he up by 3 shots? 3 or 2, at least 2 going into that. Anyway, he was the first round leader, and then ended up shooting 75 or 76 each of the next 3 days. So I'm not counting on him to hold it together for 4 days, but I'm maybe hoping for that early first round or second round that's pretty solid for him just to get to the weekend. While I'm not sure Stricker can quite make it just because of the length and how much shorter it's going to be for him. Listen, he's good enough to hit a lot of long irons into greens and perhaps be okay, but I thought it was worth a fun play to throw a little something. I haven't been on Phil Mickelson in 3 years, so I was like, you know what? Maybe it's worth a shot. So Phil Mickelson plus 120 over Steve Stricker. Just some beer and pizza money on that one. Don't go a lot on this one. All right. Quick recap there. If we can put those back on the boards for anybody just tuning in for all of the head-to-head matchups. We have Mark Leishman. Mark Leishman Andy gave out over Sergio Garcia. I went with Patrick Reed over Patrick Cantlay. Andy likes Spieth over DeChambeau, which I really like as well. And then, of course, the lefty over Steve Stricker. Best bet of the week right there, boys and girls. All right, so let's switch focus again one more time. Andy, I know this is your bread and butter. You are fantastic when it comes to daily fantasy. I poke around and I'm not nearly as good as you are. So I want to leave this one in your hands. Talk a little bit about daily fantasy. Who are you looking at? What are some good value on players? Who are you not putting in the lineup this week? What do you got for the listeners on daily fantasy this week?
Well, in daily fantasy, most of the time it comes down to what strategy you want to do: stars and scrubs or middle of the pack. So, stars and scrubs, do you want to put a couple really, really high end, high priced guys and then some lesser tier guys? Or do you want to just go with, guys that are kind of hovering around the middle of the pack? Majors, I like middle of the pack. I want to enter a big tournament, and if you just get all 6 guys to make the cut, you're going to cash, and you're probably going to cash pretty big. And it sounds so easy. All you got to do is get 6 guys through the cut, but it is not. So a couple guys to avoid. Brooks Koepka at 9,500 is nothing short of insanity. Run as far away from Brooks Koepka as you can. He's coming off of 2 missed cuts. And I've talked about this. His knee problems, it's his right knee. So when he swings for drives and irons, the weight is on the left knee. So his right knee is not exactly taking the brunt of that, but it's putting. And if you can't get one of your knees stable, it affects everything. You can't get your spine straight. You can't get your balance straight. And that's what's going on with him right now. He just cannot putt. And that was one of the strengths of his game. Everyone thinks of him as a bomber, but it's a short game that won him most of those majors. His knee's not right. His putting's not right at 9,500. You got to stay away from him. Hideki Matsuyama at 9,400, gone over before. I will throw back to Cameron Smith. Nick, he's only 8,900. These are the types of guys that you want in your lineup.
Than those two?
Absolutely. Steal. And this is where you can really, really make some really, really good headways. Guys like Cameron Smith, Zalatoris, I'm looking right now, is 8,800. So these are the guys that you want in your lineup. And, if you scroll down, one of my favorite, I've cashed, I believe this is 4 bets in a row, Charles Schwartzel. He is finally healthy from his wrist injury, and he has been playing great. He's improved his finish each of the last 5 tournaments that he's played in. He's 6,800. I would take Charles Schwartzel over Brooks Koepka head-to-head if that was a head-to-head matchup. So, if you're looking down there, I think a Matt Kuchar might be pretty good. He loves playing in windy conditions. He's very good at it. He's done it throughout his career. And I also really like Jason Kokrak. I actually think Kokrak at 7,100 is a steal. I think this guy could really, really make some headway. 31st in driving distance, 82nd in driving accuracy, and he's 31st on tour in greens and regulation. So this is a guy that can drive the ball. He's a big guy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Leishman's game. He can drive the ball, and he's going to put it on the green. And you can get him at 7,100. I mean, look at starting your lineup there with Charles Schwartzel and Kokrak at 6,800 and 7,100. Leaves you a ton of room to go up towards your Cameron Smith, Zalatoris, Victor Hovland. I really like. So if you just dive in some of those stats and look at those lesser priced guys, it gives you a ton of value. Get 6 guys through the cut. Avoid Brooks. Avoid Matsuyama. And you should cash in some of these tournaments.
I don't understand how Kokrak's that cheap. I mean, he's been one of the favorites, I would say, in the top 10 to 15 in several of the latest tournaments he's been playing in. I mean, I'm looking at his results right now. He's got 10 straight made cuts. He had 3 straight top 10s during the Florida swing, just coming off his last start, tied for 13 at Valspar. I mean, he seems like a no-brainer to make the cut. But then again, what do I know for daily fantasy? So there you have it. Andy, good suggestions there. I know you have this included in your pack this week, correct? You have some lineups?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
Well, good. If you're looking for daily fantasy, definitely check out Andy's pack this week. I do not have daily fantasy in my pack this week. I do have outright and some leaderboard plays, which we're going to get to next. So this is more of long shots, right? We're going to kind of segue into the long shots, which let's be honest, these are the guys that are the most fun to play, and the ones that you might win once every 3 years, and you want to brag to your friends that one time you nailed a guy that was 150 to 1 or whatever to win the tournament. So long shots this week. For me, there's different ways to play a long shot. Yes, there's the outright market on the huge price tag, but you're not betting more than a couple bucks. But there's also guys in that same category that actually, if you really expect them to have a chance to win, they're probably going to have a pretty good week also, and maybe a top 10 play or a top 20 play. So again, we'll start with you, Andy. I think you already mentioned a guy I'm looking at this week. You just said Kokrak. I think he's great. Who do you like this week as a long shot, if you throw out a name?
Yeah, I got excited talking about him in DFS, but yeah, he is my long shot. The price is great. His game fits this style of course really well. And my favorite part about him is he is the classic long shot, as in nobody's talking about him. And he had a stretch. Nick, he finished ninth there at the WGC at the concession and the Arnold Palmer and the Players. Those are real tournaments that he had 3 straight top 10 finishes. He's been a made cut machine. He has a win. He won the CJ Cup at the end of 2020. And I think he's criminally underrated here. Would not surprise me if he pulls out a top 10 finish here. He's a great driver of the ball, really, really good ball striker. His Achilles heel is his putting, but they're huge greens this week. And with his distance and his greens and regulation numbers, and like you said, even par is going to be a good score. I think he can do that. Drive the ball, get it on the green, 2-putt, take your par, get out of there. I think he just has a great skill set that sets up well for this course. And I love that top 20 at plus 400.
Yeah, to fall down to 130 to 1 after, I mean, he was in the 30 to 1 range in several events recently is pretty remarkable. And you're right. I mean, 3 out of his last 5 stroke play events, he's been in the top 10. That's paying 9 to 1. And play it safer, like you just said, 4 to 1 in the top 20, which he's done in 4 of the last 5 events he's played. It's pretty damn solid. So I do agree. I think that's a great price on Kokrak. When you mentioned that, we were talking before the show, and that was your play. I'm like, Kokrak, how did I miss that? So kudos to you for finding him, because he's definitely got some value this week. One name I'll throw out there, in which Andy's going to make fun of me because it's not really
yes,
I
big am.
Long shot. In terms of 100 to 1 type of guys, it's Will Zalatoris. He's only 55 to 1, but hear me out, right? So a lot of the times in these majors, you're going to get one of the big names to win. And Zalatoris dropping down to 55 to 1 when he was 20 to 1 just 2 weeks ago, I mean, is very solid to me. And again, maybe it's not quite the long shot, but I like him this week. And I think at that price, he's pretty good. He ranks 3rd on tour this year, strokes gained approach, 13th greens and reg, 14th scoring average, 7th shots gained tee to green, 19th in total shots gained. He was runner-up at the Masters, which everybody remembers because that just happened, and they feel like that was his coming out party. But we've been talking about him a lot longer than that. You go back to the U.S. Open, he finished tied for 6th at the U.S. Open. That's when I was really starting to pay attention to him. And he's got 10 other top 25 finishes in his other 16 events this year. I mean, that's pretty consistent and pretty solid. And obviously those major results shows that he can play during these big events. So not quite as good a value as Kokrak, of course, but 4 to 1 on a top 10 or plus 150 for a top 20, I think still has some decent value because he's just a good ball striker. I think he'll navigate the long course and the wins this week and be there on Sunday and perhaps backdoor. Will he win? And will his first PGA Tour win be a major? Maybe. Crazier things have happened, but I do like either one of those leaderboard bets for Zalatoris to hang tight through Sunday. Andy, one more. Who do you got? Long shot. Throw it out there. Big number. Who you play?
I'm gonna take as my long shot the guy that finished 2nd at the Masters. Long shot. I'll take.
All right. I deserve it. Listen, 55 to 1 is a good price.
Long shot. Long shot, as in not expected to do well. No,
I deserve it. I deserve it.
No. You're absolutely right. And hey, he is everything he's cracked up to be. He's a killer, man. He is not intimidated at all coming onto tour. I like that play, and somebody with his confidence could walk in and really, really stun some people with a solid finish at this course.
He looks like he just came off the beach. Like he just got done surfing, and then he goes right to the first tee, and he's like, "Come on, man, let's play some golf, dude." That's my Zalatoris impression.
Yeah, he's young, and he's young and so cocky that it may work this week. That's what he had going for him at the Masters. No fear. I don't fear DJ. I don't fear Spieth. I'm just going to go out and play my game. So I like it. I'll go with a guy that probably a lot of American casual golf fans have never heard of, Robert McIntyre. This is a great young European player that you're going to be hearing a lot from over the years. He's part of this new wave of young guys, Nick, that are coming in. I mean, these guys like Hovland and Morikawa and Zalatoris, and I'll throw McIntyre in there, that they just step right onto the PGA Tour and act like they've been there for a decade. So McIntyre's played in 11 PGA Tour events, and he's made the cut in 10 of those. He's never missed a cut at the major, finished 12th at the Masters. And Nick, in 2019, in his first PGA Tour event, he finished 6th at the Open Championship. This guy is a head-to-head machine on the European Tour. The books have caught up to this on the European Tour when doing head-to-head matchups. This is Rookie of the Year on the European Tour. But when he comes over and plays in the States, he grew up in Scotland. He is perfectly fine playing in the wind and the mist and adverse conditions. This is a guy that wouldn't surprise me if he's around the leaderboard, a top 20 guy who steps onto the tee and just the wind and weather and length doesn't affect them. Young guy, we're going to be hearing a lot from him. I've enjoyed betting on him over the last year or so, and I think he could make some noise this week.
All right, I guess it's fair to say that's your definition of a real long shot. Congratulations, Andy. You actually did the job much better than I did there. And he's good, because not a lot of people, unless you watch the European Tour, probably have heard of McIntyre, maybe just more recently. But you're right, he's a good find, definitely, and that's one you'd brag about for a long time if that one comes through. I'll go one more. Still not a long shot by your standards, but I'm getting closer.
This is a great long shot. I am so proud of you for doing this, guy, because I'll just let you talk, but I am so proud of you, Nick. This is a great one.
All right. Well, thank you. He didn't quite crack the 100-1 mark, but he's close. 90-1 this week, Brian Harman. He is number 2 on tour in total strokes gained per round over the last 3 months, second to only Cam Smith, who I highlighted as number 1 before. He's averaging plus 2.3 strokes gained per round. He's got 5 straight top 20 finishes, starting with a tied for 3rd at the Players. He was a quarterfinalist at the Match Play, tied for 12th at the Masters, 13th at the RBC Heritage, and tied for 18th most recently at Wells Fargo. He's got a great short game, and his putter is very, very good as well. And if the winds are up this week, I'm telling you right now, this game, you mentioned it before with Spieth, this course, the winner is going to come down to short game, because everybody's going to be missing greens. Everybody's going to be scrambling. And the guys that have the short game to get through that are going to be the guys that are on the leaderboard come Sunday. So I'm hoping for a little bit of windy conditions. I'm hoping for a lot of scrambling. And then you can get a guy like Harman to make that run into this week. 90-1 to win, 6-1 for a top 10, and plus 275 for a top 20, which, again, he's got 5 straight of them. Give me that price all day. I think he's worth a shot. So quick recap for us here on the long shot plays. You got Jason Kokrak. Andy loves Jason Kokrak this week, 130-1. Take him any way you like him. I went with Will Zalatoris. Okay, he's not a long shot, I know. McIntyre, awesome find, Andy. Definitely worth a play this week. And Brian Harman. So sprinkle a little bit of money on them any way you see. Leaderboard bets, outright bets, whatever. Don't go crazy on them. But I think any of those guys have a good chance to make a run this week. And if it's not too late, I forgot to recap our outright market for the show. We went through those quick, but I didn't do a quick recap. So quickly on that reminder, Andy went with Patrick Reed as a 35-1 play, and he faded Hideki Matsuyama. So do not take Hideki at the same price, 35-1. I threw out as a favorite play Jon Rahm. If you're going to play one of the favorites, he's my favorite this week, 14-1. And then Cam Smith, 46-1. He's just been a machine. And, of course, our favorite play of the week, load up on your John Dailies, $10.95. You can't get enough of them for those 4 days. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Reminder that the promo code for this week is PGA50. Grab Andy or myself's PGA Championship pack this week. Get it for just 50% off, just $19. And that's, again, all 4 days of coverage. We got leaderboard bets. We got player profiles. We got head-to-head matchups, of course. Sadie's got daily fantasy in there. So tons and tons of info for this week's tournament and all the different ways to attack it. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Really appreciate you jumping on, and we'll see you here shortly. Another month, we'll be back for the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines.